Welcome to Risk Management Explained, a monthly podcast series brought to you by Aegis Risk Management that discusses events, methodologies, concepts, and how to handle the unexpected within the construction industry.
Welcome to Risk Management Explained. On today's podcast, we'll be discussing the best ways to determine the appropriate forensic delay methodology. I'm Max Wallach, and on behalf of Aegis Risk Management, I'll be facilitating today's discussion. To talk about today's topic, we have with us Brent Sadauskas, Senior Project Executive with Aegis Risk Management. He's a testifying expert specializing in life cycle risk assessment, schedule delay, loss of productivity, and cost impacts. Brent, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me, Max.
So to kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about the general process when a client comes to Aegis with an issue?
Well, the first thing to understand is where the client is coming from. Often they are in trouble. They may be projecting a significant loss of time or money due to unrealized time extensions. Possibly, this could be due to a soured relationship with the counterpart, whether it be the owner, GC, or subcontractor. It's not uncommon to have a great relationship early on in the honeymoon phase of a project, and then for it just all fall apart over an issue or over several issues. And it's also not uncommon for an issue to have been pushed down the road. Often an issue will be ignored in the hopes that it'll go away, but it doesn't always happen, and the associated delays and costs continue to increase. In the best case, a client comes to us requesting pre-con through life cycle risk advice, which could result in avoiding as many delays as possible.
Okay, so once you understand where the client's coming from, what's the next step?
Well, the first step is to have a kickoff meeting. Obviously, we've been doing that over Zoom or Teams or the phone for quite some time now, but we're going back to in person, and I'm actually looking forward to that. But the first part of this kickoff meeting is to determine what the project is. Is it vertical construction? Is it flat work, heavy industrial? Is it government or private? And then what has or is being delayed? We then lay out the expectations to the client because we provide a third-party independent analysis and we rely on the project records. Then we perform an analysis, whether it be a TAA, REA, or a claim.
Okay, so when a client comes to you and requests you perform a forensic delay analysis, how do you begin the process of determining which methodology to use?
Well, every project is different, requiring us to examine the available contemporaneous documents. Of particular importance are the documents as they relate to the contract. Was there an approved baseline? Were the schedules updated and submitted regularly? And were these updates approved or rejected? Then we like to do an initial analysis of the schedules to see if they match the client's story. We then interview the client and discuss the available options, and at that time, we make the determination.
So you mentioned that after the initial analysis, you compare the results with the client story. How does this occur, and what are you looking for here?
Well, the client lived through the delays and they believe they know what happened. And we're looking to see if the schedules that they submitted match that story and that the delays are validated. If that's the case, then a contemporaneous period analysis is an option. If the schedules do not match the story, and unfortunately this happens more often than not, then we need to find out why and what to do.
So given that the schedules were created contemporaneously, why would they not reflect the client's story?
Well, there are several reasons why this occurs. The owner may not have allowed fragments to be entered contemporaneously, may not have been allowed per the contract. The contractor may have used these schedules for payment purposes only. They didn't use them to plan, or maybe they were infrequently updated or inaccurately updated. It could be that the contractor missed incorporating necessary fragments, or they incorporated them incorrectly. A contractor may have experienced a major problem, but it didn't affect the critical paths of the schedules we reviewed. They lived through it, but the schedules just don't show it the way they think it happened.
Okay, so how do you proceed if they don't match?
Well, we have several options. We can modify the schedules to include fragnets and progress them with contemporaneous knowledge, that is, the knowledge at the time of each schedule's update. We could revise the schedules to reflect the true plan, or we could just not use the contemporaneous schedules.
So if the schedules aren't usable, what do you do at that point?
We consider everything when determining the methodology. We analyze all of the available information. We then run this information through a rubric we've created, which compares the requirements and best practices of the industry to determine the best methodology to use.
So do you have a preference on methodology?
We do. We truly believe that if the schedules were used to plan the work and real-time decisions were made based on the critical and subcritical paths, meaning that contemporaneously the client, whether it's the owner, the general contractor, the subcontractors, are actually using those schedules to make decisions, then they are the best tool for telling the story. And in this case, we prefer using a contemporaneous period analysis.
Okay. So just to recap, we discussed the general process when a client comes to Aegis Risk with an issue, how you determine which methodology to use, what happens when the schedules don't reflect the client story and why, and Aegis's preference for the analysis. Brent, thank you for taking the time to talk today and sharing your thoughts and insights on today's topic. There is certainly more nuance to this topic than could be covered today, but this seems like a good stopping point for our general view. I'm Max Wallach, and I want to personally thank everyone who's taken the time to watch or listen to this. Our goal is to educate those who are impacted by construction risks, but don't deal with it every day. I hope you learned something from today's discussion. We talk about new topics each month, so please join us next month when we discuss the Aegis preferred contemporaneous period analysis. As always, if you have any questions pertaining to today's discussion or questions related to construction risk management, we can be contacted by email at risk@consultaegis.com. Thank you.